Okay, I'm going to start today. Come and just sit on your shins in your hero pose. If this is very intense into the ankles or the knees, you can pop a pillow underneath your sitting bones, and that helps to take some of the intensity out of the quads. If this is just not going to work for you this morning, then come into a regular cross-leg position and we can wait for these quads to open up a bit more before attempting this later. So finding your comfortable space, neutral lower back, bringing the hands into a meditative space, whatever that pose is for you. Let's close the eyes here. And take a few deep breaths. We'll work into some Kapalabhati breath today, which is the forceful exhale with passive inhale. Taking 3 rounds. With each round, we want to have a few more exhales in each session. So starting off with about 10, then about 15, and into about 20. You can do more or less depending on your lung capacity. Let's take a nice deep breath in. Deep breath out. Half breath in. And begin. Exhale, chin to chest. Hold the breath out. And inhale to lift. Deep breath out. Half breath in. And begin. Exhale, chin to chest. And inhale. Deep breath out. Half breath in. And begin. Exhale, chin to chest. And inhale. Let's take a moment to feel the effects of your pranayama. Any feelings of warmth, tingling, vibration. Noticing the clarity of mind, sensations in your body. And then from here, start to bring your hands to the floor in front of you. Lifting up onto your knees in a tabletop. And then walk the knees a few spaces back, keeping the shoulders over the wrists. You can tuck or point the toes depending on what feels more comfortable for you. Grip your fingertips into the mat And then start to send your weight forward. On your exhale, let's push back, bringing the hips towards the heels and dropping the chest. Inhale, reaching forward. Make sure that you don't collapse into the lower back, keeping firm in the core. Exhale to reach back. Flow at your own pace. Inhaling forward. And now you can start to arch into the spine. Exhaling to come back, rounding into the back. Start to get some flow into the spinal movements. If you've been tucking the toes, maybe point them and let the hips drop all the way down into child's pose. Rounding the back, engaging into the core, stretching into the hip flexors and the quads, as well as opening the spine. And then making your way now to come into downward facing dog. Tucking toes, lifting the hips. Let's heel toe the feet a few times. Moving the whole body. Opening the spine, the ribs, the hips, the legs, the shoulders, the neck. And then sinking both heels down to the floor. Start to walk your hands back towards the toes and hanging into ragdoll. Release the hands, rolling yourself up, one vertebrae at a time. Inhale, hands overhead, interlocking fingers, and turning the palms to face up. Reaching over to one side. Inhale to center and over to the other side. Inhaling to the center. Float the right knee to the chest. And then roll into your ankle. Change the direction of the roll. And then bring the hand underneath the thigh, interlocking fingers. Inhale, straighten your leg. And exhale to bend. See if you can get the leg a little bit higher. Lift and bend. One more time. My balance is off today. And coming back to center. Let's lower the leg down, engaging to bring it down. Floating, left knee up and rolling into the ankle. Change the direction of the roll. And then hands underneath the thigh. Let's inhale, extend. And exhale to bend. Inhale, lift. And exhale. One more time, lifting. Bend. And then actively extend the leg back to Tadasana. Floating hands overhead. Exhale to forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, walking forward, downward facing dog. Take some movement if it feels good, or hold into stillness if that feels good. Let's inhale the right leg to the sky, and exhale, knee to face. Inhale the leg up, and exhale the knee to the upper right arm. Inhale to lift up. Exhale to the upper right arm again. And then step the foot to the outer edge of the hand. Slide your back leg a bit further back and drop the knee to the mat. Let's come down onto elbows. And breathe into the space. Remember, if coming onto elbows is too intense, stay with the arms long and walk your arms forward as a melting heart sensation. On your inhale, lifting back up onto the hands, and then pressing your right hand into the knee, twisting the chest open. Let your hips start to drop to the earth. Inhale to center, hands to the floor, lift the back knee off the mat and stepping wide into a squat pose. Bringing the hands together at the heart. Lift the chest open, tuck the tailbone and press the knees a little bit wider. Let's drop hands to the floor, lifting hips as you heel toe the feet hip distance wide. Open the heart into flat back and exhale to forward fold. Sinking the head to the earth, lifting the hips to the sky. Inhale the hands up to the sky. And exhale to forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale to fold. Stepping the right leg into lunge. And dropping the back knee to the mat. Let's inhale the hands up onto the front thigh. And then gently push the hips forward as you lift your chest in the opposite direction. Be very mindful to lift the pubic bone here. Engage into the abdominal muscles to protect your lower back. The more you sink the hips, the deeper the stretch into the hip flexors. Let's exhale to lower the hands to the floor and then lift the back knee off the mat. Inhale, plank. And exhaling, knees, chest, chin. Inhaling into cobra. And back into downward facing dog. Take movement if it feels good, or find stillness if that feels good. Let's inhale the left leg to the sky. Exhale, knee to face, face to knee. Inhale to lift. Exhale, knee to upper left arm. Inhale to lift. Exhale to upper left arm a second time. And then step the foot wide, dropping the back knee down. You can always slide the back knee a little bit further back to deepen the stretch into hip flexors. Either walk the hands forward or come down to the elbows for your lizard lunge. Try to soften all of the major muscles of the body. Soften your jaw, your tongue, then inhale, coming back up onto the hands, pressing right hand to the mat and left hand to your knee. Open up the chest here. You can start to let your hips sink down a little bit deeper. And even come onto the knife edge of the baby toe side of that front foot. Let's release the hands to the floor, lift the back knee off the mat, and then stepping forward into malasana. Breathe into the space. Making your way into forward fold, hands to the mat. Lift the hips up, heel toe, hip distance wide. Opening the chest on your inhale and exhale to fold. Let's inhale, hands all the way up. Exhale, straight back down, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, and stepping the left leg back into lunge. Sink the back knee down and hands to the front thigh. Lifting into crescent lunge. Stay active in your crescent lunge. Squeeze the back glute. Slide the hips forward as you open up through the abdominal muscles. Open up through the chest. Feeling the stretch from the knee all the way over the psoas up to the lower rib cage. Let's exhale the hands down to the mat and inhale into plank. Exhaling, knees, chest and chin. And then sliding forward and up, cobra. Exhaling back, downward facing dog. Breathing into the space. On your inhale breath, lift up to the tips of the toes, bend your knees, sliding the hips up and back. Looking between the hands, we're going to hop into malasana. Bringing the hands together at the heart. Twisting the malasana by bringing the right hand out to the side and the left arm to the sky. Actively press your upper arm against your inner thigh to help rotate the hip a bit wider. If you like, you can take a bind behind the back, hooking the fingers, or even just holding onto your shirt or tucking your fingers into your waist. Let's engage by lengthening first, hands at the heart, and then to the other side. Left arm out, right arm up. Again, you can hold or take a bind if that suits you. Let's release the hands down to the heart, to the mat, and then lifting hips up. Heel toe yourself, hip distance wide, engaging into flat back, and exhale to forward fold. Stretch into these hamstrings for a moment, squeezing the quads to help elongate the back body. And now bending knees, shifting hands up, Utkatasana. Breathing into the space. From here, bring the hands together at the heart center. Float your right knee off the mat. And then slowly pivot yourself through Warrior 3 into a standing lunge. Floating arms to the sky. Lift up out of the floor On the inhale, open warrior two, reclining warrior, coming back to your warrior two, shift yourself forward, high lunge, back heel off the mat. Either keep the hands to the sky, to the heart, or to the top thigh. We're going to slowly lower the back leg down. Very, very, very slowly. Dropping the back knee to the mat. Slide the hands down to the front knee and open the chest for a second round of crescent lunge. Bring the hands together at the heart, and we're going to twist to bring right hand forward, left arm back. Utilizing the core to help with the twist. Bring your front hand to the outer edge of that front thigh or calf muscle, and start to sink the hips as you reach your left arm away. So the left arm is reaching back. Let's come back to the center, hold the hands together at the heart. And now turn left hand forward, right arm back. You may want to hold your hand to your front knee to help with balance. We're going to bend that back knee. So if you've got tender knees, you may want to fold your mat up. You're going to bend that back knee now and draw the heel in towards the hip. Gently release that back foot down, bringing the hands to the mat. And now we're going to straighten into the front quad. Float the hands up. If you've got space, you can forward fold over the thigh. If not, hold in flat back. Let's inhale to center, hands either side of the front foot, and stepping back into plank. Lowering knees, chest, or chaturanga. Up dog or cobra. And downward facing dog. Take a few breaths in your down dog, or maybe rest the knees to the floor in child's pose. Bending your knees as you lift up onto the tips of your toes. Slide those hips up and back. Stretch into the spine. Let's look between the hands and lightly hop malasana. Drawing hands together at the heart center. From your malasana, see if you can now come up onto the toes, lifting the heels off the mat. And gently releasing back down. Hands to the floor, making your way into flat back. Lift the hips, heel toe the feet, hip distance wide. Open up through the torso, extending head and tailbone away from one another. Exhale to forward fold. Let's bend knees, hands to the sky, Utkatasana. Bringing hands together at the heart, float your left knee off the mat. transition through warrior 3 into your high lunge. Find space and lightness in your high lunge. Let's open up, warrior 2. Inhale, reclining warrior. Inhale, warrior 2. And then rotate back into high lunge. Keep the hands to the sky, or bring them to the heart, or hold onto the top thigh for balance as you very, very slowly lower down to low lunge. And all the way down. Hands to the front thigh, and start to slide the hips forward, opening up through the chest. Lift pubic bone, lengthen lumbar, and sink the hip flexors just a bit more. Let's bring the hands together at the heart. We're going to twist to bring left hand forward, right arm back. Left hand to the outer edge of your front leg. Sliding the back hand and the hips away from one another. Let's inhale together at the heart. Twist to the other side. Bring the front hand to help support. Fold the mat up if you need to, as you now bend into the back leg. You're going to slide your heel towards your hip and work the hips forward at the same time. This is going to be intense working into the quad, the hip flexors, the psoas, tight areas of the body. And gently releasing from there. Bring the foot down, lift your knee, hands to the floor. Let's come into our Ardha Hanumanasana first. Straighten into that front leg. And if you've got the space to forward fold, go ahead. Lifting back up, coming forward into your low lunge, and then making your way into plank. Let's lower knees, chest, or chaturanga, cobra, or upward facing dog, and downward facing dog. Breathing into the space. On the inhale breath, take the right leg to the sky and step the foot forward into lunge. Drop your back knee down and then move your foot just slightly over to the left side. We're now going to straighten the front hip and then come all the way down to sit into our triang mukha. If your knees are okay, you bring them close together. If there's tension pulling into the top of the vascularis here, open the knee a bit wider. Please check that your foot is facing backwards and not to the side. We're going to start here with a gentle forward fold. So allow the body as best you can to both extend forward and soften down. On your inhale, lift yourself back up. You might want to scooch a bit forward on your mat if you're all the way back. We're going to come into the reclining version. So hands down, lift your bum, tuck the tailbone so the lower back is lengthening, and then coming down onto elbows. If your bent knee is lifted off the floor, please do not go any further. You need to make sure the bent knee is on the mat at all times. If you've got space to go a bit more, you can lie all the way down. Remember just to keep lengthening into lumbar, and maybe even take the hands over the back of the body. There is a natural arch happening into the lower back, whether the hands, elbows, or torso is on the floor. So just be mindful of that arch, securing and supporting the lumbar spine. On the inhale breath, is come back up, bringing elbows to the floor, lifting yourself up. We're now going to lift slightly to bring the front foot under and then slide it back, opening the front knee a bit wider. The hands are underneath your chest in front of you. And now you actively extend that back leg back. And again, you're going to feel this in the hip flexor. So this front leg has not changed alignment. It's still in that triang mukha alignment. If you feel comfortable, maybe you want to come down onto the elbows. This is not necessarily more intense on the elbows. It can be less. So just see what works for your body. And now moving into a twist, press the left hand firmly into the floor, lifting the elbow. Slide the right arm under in a threaded needle, and then just bring the left hand behind the back into a gentle, relaxed position. Let's come back now to bring both hands to the floor, lifting the chest. Lift up onto your hands, grip your fingertips into the mat, tuck the back toe, squeeze that back knee so the body is strong and active here. You're going to float your front knee up to your face to your knee, bring it to the left elbow, to the right elbow, to the left elbow, to the right elbow, and then up to the sky. Stretch into your hip, lengthening that leg as deeply as you can. And now bring that knee to the left wrist for pigeon pose. Sliding the back foot a little bit further back. We're staying in our upright pigeon, so lifting the torso to the sky. Walk the hands closer to the torso, or come onto the knee and foot to get a bit more height. You're now going to take the right hand back and hold onto the foot behind you. Depending on how that quad is feeling, you might just want to bend the back knee. If you can't reach the foot, that's okay. If you've got space, you're going to start to bring your foot in a bit closer, maybe even hooking into the elbow. You can come to sit onto your front hip, and maybe even take the top hand behind the head into mermaid. If you're in your mermaid and you want to engage a bit more, you then lift up to balance in the middle of the two hips. And then slowly release the body from here. You're going to step it back into downward facing dog. Take a moment in your down dog. You can choose to hold here or come forward through a vinyasa. From your Adho Mukha Svanasana, let's take the left leg to the sky and step the foot forward into lunge. Dropping your back knee to the mat and then bring your foot a bit to the right side as you straighten the front leg and come back to sit into your half hero pose. So remember, you can always open the knee slightly to the side. The foot is facing behind you. Sit on a cushion if one hip is lifted much higher than the other so that you can balance out the lower part of the torso. Let's come into our gentle forward fold. Inhale to lift yourself back up, moving now into the reclining position. So remember, hands behind you, lift the tailbone, tuck to make sure the lower back is long, and then you can lower yourself accordingly based on your body. If your knee is lifting off the floor, that means the quads are too tight and you're going to start tearing into the knees. Please make sure your knee stays on the floor. That's very, very important. On your inhale, making your way back up to sit. You're going to shift yourself now to bend the front knee, hands down, and slide that leg back. Still keeping your right knee bent with the foot behind you. Now actively slide the left leg away. Maybe lower to the elbows, maybe stay up on the hands. Either option is fine. It really depends on what your body is asking for. And let's slowly come down if you haven't already, and make your way into the gentle twist. Left arm threading needle, right arm just comfortably behind the back. From here, releasing both hands down, lifting the chest, tuck the back toes, squeeze the knee, firm into the core muscles. You're going to float your knee to your face, and then right elbow, left elbow, right elbow, left elbow, and to the sky. Stretch and open up the torso, open up the thigh, the quad, the hip. And then taking this into mukhaikapada, knee to right wrist, slide the back foot away. Lift up onto your fingertips, so we're in upright pigeon. Remember, the back leg is working nice and strong in your upright pigeon. Maybe bring the hands a bit higher so there's less weight on the arms and more in the core. Let's float the left hand behind and reaching for that back foot. Remember, if you can't reach the foot, it's totally fine. Just bend the knee and start to stretch the quad that way. If you've got space in that quad, you can slowly work your way forward. If you sit into your front hip, you take some of the intensity out. That might be helpful for you. Maybe you want to keep the intensity. Possibly interlocking the fingers into mermaid. And then gently releasing from here, stretching that back leg out, hands to the floor, and again strong into the leg, strong into the tummy to float the leg up and back into downward facing dog. Let's hold our down dog for a few breaths. Bend your knees, slide your hips up and back, lift high onto the tips of the toes. Let's look between the hands. We're going to walk, step or hop to sit on the mat. And bring the legs in front of you. So working into these quad and hip flexor stretches means that our back bends have a bit more space. So it would be remiss to not take a nice back bend here. Let's come down, feet hip distance parallel, hands next to the hips. Press the lower back flat into the mat and then lift from the tailbone, peeling the spine off like a string of pearls. Walk the shoulders underneath the back, interlocking fingers if that is available. And I'll really work on opening the front body. These hip flexors and quads are lovely and long, so there's lots of space there to open up. Try and bring some energy into the upper back, the upper chest. And then when you're ready, open the shoulder blades, coming upper, middle, lower back to the floor, and hold into restorative pose. Let's take it into a second round. Hands next to the hips, feet hip distance parallel. So you can repeat the exact same half bridge pose we've just done with the fingers interlocking behind the back. Or if you are comfortable to bring the hands underneath the hips and the elbows parallel in line with the shoulders, you can do that. Remember that we're not sinking into the hands, but rather lifting up out of the hands. If there's still space, you are welcome to take us into your full bridge pose by either semi or entirely straightening the legs. Make sure the feet are flat on the mat, whichever option you've chosen. If you're in your full bridge pose, you're going to re-bend, and then everyone coming down, opening shoulders, rolling the spine gently, and into restorative pose. So just take note of how the back is feeling. If there's a bit of twinging, if it feels like it's had a deep enough stretch, please don't go any deeper in the final round. You may even want to hold back just slightly so as not to cause any lower back tension. It's so important to be aware of what the body is saying and not to let your ego push you any further. If, however, you feel that you do have space to go deeper, then you are welcome to come into a wheel pose, otherwise repeating one of the half bridge poses. So if you're in your wheel, you're going to take hands to the sky, plug the shoulder blades flat, hands under the shoulders, fingers pointing to the toes. Make sure that there's a nice strong grip into the feet as you lift the body off the floor. And slowly coming down wherever you are. Make sure that you are tucking chin to chest as you lower down, curling the spine, and let's have everyone bring knees into chest. So our Upasana is the counterbalance to our Urdhva Dhanurasana, our wheel pose. We are now lengthening the back body. And just holding here for a few moments to really get the full length into the spine. If it feels nice, you can roll from side to side. Taking the feet into happy baby. This is an even deeper restorative position. Relaxing the hip flexors, relaxing the psoas, and lengthening the lower back. Again, if you want to, you can roll. If you don't want to, you can hold still. And then bringing the knees together, taking a reclining twist of your choice. If you took quite a deep back bend, please make sure that you use a less deep twist. Let's exhale, dropping to one side. Close your eyes. And just let your body really surrender and soften. Let's come back to center and over to the other side. Come back to center, take knees into chest, and then releasing into final relaxation pose, Shavasana. If the hip flexors or the lower back feel tender, rather lie in your restorative pose. If you feel okay to come into Shavasana, Just make sure that you're evenly spread, that the body is relaxed, the jaw and tongue is soft. Staying present in your relaxation process by becoming aware of your natural breath. Slowly start to deepen and lengthen your breath. Gently running your thumb over the tips of your fingers. Moving your toes, ankles and wrists. Sliding feet together and extending arms overhead as you yawn or sigh. Bending knees and rolling onto your side in a fetal position. On your inhale, lift up to come into a comfortable seated space. Drawing your hands together at your heart center. We'll close the class by chanting Om once and Shanti 3 times. Taking a deep breath in. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Raising your hands to your third eye. The light in me sees and honors the light in you. Lowering your hands to your lips, to your heart, to your mat, bowing forward in recognition of your practice. Blinking eyes open. Inhaling to lift. Namaste.